Welcome to World of Monsters, and welcome to this installment into the Cryptozoology series. I'm Monster Master Arthur, and how these series differ is they go in depth with creatures or monstrous phenomena. So unlike the other series, with this series I go in depth exploring whether this phenomena could be real, whether this monster could be real, looking at the best evidence out there, forming my own sort of conclusion, as well as sharing my own experiences related to that phenomena, if I've had any. These series are also a great introduction to the people researching this cryptid for the first time, as well as for those looking for a nice source of compiled information on that cryptid. My goal with this series, as well as other series on this channel, is to present you with as much information on the topic as possible in the shortest amount of time. So get comfortable and kick up your awareness up a notch, as there's going to be a lot of information coming at you. As today's cryptozoological topic is Sasquatch. And remember, your watching not only supports this channel, but also the research that goes into, well, these cryptids, and later in the future getting future updates on them and the newest and latest notable footage and updates. Sasquatch, as locals in North America know it as, is also very well known as Bigfoot, though the term Sasquatch comes from a Canadian Native American Salish term for hairy man in the circa of 1925 to 1930. As mentioned, we also know it as Bigfoot, Yeti, Abominable Snowman, Grassman, the Almas, Wild Man, or Yeren in China, Bushman to the Eskimos, Hairy Man to the Tula River Indians, Yowie as they call it in Australia, and under various names in the North American Native American tribes such as Stickman, Basket Woman, Yayali. Then in the States there's also the Boggy Creek Monster, and Honey Island Swamp Monster, Skunk Ape, Pakistan's Barmanu, Urayuli of Southwest Alaska, Nitewa of Sri Lanka, Chichune of Siberia, and others. Now do excuse if I mispronounce some of them. Now before we get started, I would like you to possibly share two things with me. There's going to be a poll up above here somewhere asking about whether, first of all, you believe in Bigfoot. Yes, no, maybe so. And after watching the whole video, if you change your mind, please do share as well. I'd like to see that. And you can do so by editing your original comment or by just replying to it with the update. And also, let me know your experiences. If you've had any Bigfoot experiences or know of someone that has shared it with you, a family member, a friend, whoever, please share those experiences down below, and you are most welcome to send me a private messages with those experiences as well, or with any cryptid out there. Let us begin with Sasquatch's history and description, just in case you've never heard of this large, furry, or hairy cryptid. And remember, this is a huge, broad topic, so if you want a future video on a more specific type of Bigfoot, shall we call it, such as the Yeti or Alma, then do let me know down below. But in the United States, reports claim them to appear up to 9 feet tall, which means, as you can see here, he would simply tower above me. The Sasquatch would be big enough to easily hurl large rocks and to lift some as much as 2,000 pounds. Now the other geographically known version of Bigfoot, probably the first or second most well-known version of Bigfoot, is called the Yeti, and that one seems to grow to a shorter height of up to 7 feet. And then we have an even smaller version, the Orang Pendek of Sumatra, which reaches only around 3 feet tall. So we have these undiscovered bipedal hairy creatures that roam around us from 3 to 9 feet tall worldwide. And again, most of the accounts of this particular cryptid, and depending on location, it could be from white to yellow to dark browns and reds. Focusing more on the North American Sasquatch version, it's said to lack a prominent chin. It has a large flat nose, no forehead, large receded eyes, huge brown ridges, long arms, a bulky, robust body, and a head that's tucked into the torso. Seemingly all are said to have an elusive nature. They're known to build simple tree structures reminiscent of other great known primates out there. Many of such have been reported from Vancouver. As far as their communication, people have said to hear roars, howls, and barks, as well as high-pitched elk or deer kissing-like noises. Also, people speak of tapping communication, where they tap a branch or a stick against another piece of wood. And then there's a communication that people also call gifting, where they set an arrangement of stones and sticks and things like that upon the ground or a large slate of stone, and they leave it there for days or weeks and then return to find the arrangement switched about. And the arrangements get switched about in a rather fascinating manner too, which suggests that this must be something different than, let's say, a raccoon just bumping into it. They have also long been said to have a strong pungent smell, hence also the given name of skunk ape. Some believe for Sasquatch to live a long time, up to 900 years, according to Native American John Two Birds, who says they can actually make you think that they're a tree to hide themselves from us. And this also brings up some theories of being extremely camouflaged, as upon in-depth hair inspection, some researchers found the hair to be translucent in nature, leading to the idea that light is reflected, allowing the creature to become virtually invisible. But you know what? Polar bears also have translucent fur, as well as other animals, and they're quite visible to us. Sasquatch have also been associated with UFOs. They've been reported to enter and exit such craft. And oddly enough, human disappearances in national parks, UFO and Bigfoot sightings, all three of them have a habit of taking place in near proximities and ranges of time. Different Sasquatch have also been reported to not only shift in color as this man reports,
and then the color of the hair changed from bright red color to brown, black, even multicolored.
But as this account shows, during a trip to the Sasquatch outpost in Bailey, Colorado, a hot spot for sightings.
So yeah, it's a couple who have a gifting site. I don't know if you saw that in the museum, where they go out and put gifts out and then go back and see if anything's been changed. So they had one not far from here, and they've been checking on it regularly. And the last time they had their grandchildren with them, and they were coming back out away from the gifting site, and the little girl kept looking behind her with binoculars, because often that's what people say, is you see Bigfoot looking at you as you're leaving, or you don't see him, but that's, they come out when you're leaving. And all of a sudden she turned around and she said, look, do you see him? And so the grandfather got his binoculars, and sure enough, he could see one, and maybe you can remember the details. He saw, this was at the bonfire evening. Okay. I don't know if he saw two straight away, or if he saw one and then later another one. But he said at some point it just kind of shrugged and turned and walked away and just disappeared, same as you were saying with the UFO.
He said it appeared to step through some kind of a shimmering portal.
Yes, that's right, it was shimmering.
He said, I'm not quoting him exactly, he said it stepped it through a shimmering portal.
Right. And to him, that somehow made it tied up to UFOs.
How old was the little girl?
10.
So it appears that they've even been sighted crossing through a dimensional door or shimmering portal. And again, I thank the owner for sharing that with me very much. They've been said to influence and read minds and intentions. Hence, many researchers advise on approaching the search with peace in mind and not negative or violent intentions. In other words, don't bring a gun. There are many reports of electronics malfunctioning when in the vicinity of a Bigfoot. Electronics such as, of course, cameras. Go figure. Now, having gotten a good taste of the description of Bigfoot, let's take a look at what started this whole Sasquatch phenomena, when it started, when it got popularized, and after that, we'll take a look at notable, heavy, realistic, believable, convincible cases. The history. Accounts of wild men and giants go back thousands of years. Enkidu of the Epic of Gilgamesh was a wild man raised by animals and ignorant of human society. He was said to be formed of clay and saliva from the mother goddess. Then there's other mentionings of giants, such as in the Bible, for example Goliath of the David and Goliath tale. Then there's also these that have been quickly growing in attention all over the internet, the Ancient Nephilim. The Nephilim were said to be the gigantic offspring of gods, or as yet others believe as demons, corresponding with a whole different theory of the missing link in human evolution and development. And those are just a very few historical mentionings of giants and furry wild men living in the forests, and I emphasize the word very. And we have great aged evidence of something strange within the pictographs of the Tula River Native Americans, depicting the hairy man. These cave paintings predate the European settler arrival at least 500 years. Native Americans lived side by side and accepted Sasquatch, which again is actually a Native American name. They accepted it as part of their world. Only shamans or medicine men had the right to interact with them. And as we can see in these pictographs, the hairy man appeared sad, as he so appears in the creation story, and I wonder why, considering how much so-called modern humanity has changed the natural world that the Native Americans used to know. And by the way, BigfootProject.org has the most interesting article on these pictographs titled An Archaeological Viewpoint of the Hairy Man Pictographs. In Europe, there's also the Wild Men of the Woods, which as you can see here are depicted with hair completely covering their bodies. Moving up some time to the 15th century, we have a reported sighting that took place in Caucasus and Pamir Mountains of Central Asia, a sighting of the Almas, their locally known Bigfoot. In 1840, we have one of the first reported mentionings of large footprints, which actually comes from Native American lore. In 1870, the Wild Man of Crow Canyon. It was a reported case of a campsite raided by 5-foot man-like creatures with much longer arms than us, short legs and neck, and covered with fur. And keep in mind the dates here, that's 1870. 1895, one of the first eyewitness accounts, where a couple of men encountered the large creature walking on 2 legs that cut their trip shorter. In preparation to leave the forest, one of them was found dead with a broken neck and a 4-fanged bite mark. This was published by President Theodore Roosevelt. 1958. Gerald Crew discovered and casted footprints at a construction site. And this is when the article writer of that newspaper first coined the identification of this creature as Bigfoot. As these years started to bring about numerous footprint casts, they also did many hoaxes. At this time, many enthusiast and researcher eyes became focused on California and Washington. Willow Creek, California fast became a hotspot and Bigfoot capital, opening their own Bigfoot museum. In China, many people became eyewitnesses at the same time to the Chinese wild man. The government even launched an expedition searching for it, finding footprints and feces. Red hair samples also were discovered, but no DNA was found as they were seemingly too old. During research, they were often mentioned to appear unnatural, to have some sort of artificial coloring, and being most likely of Asian in origin. Were they colored or dyed by humans? Or part of some costume ensemble? Most likely. Even Vietnam has its own bipedal furry phenomenon. The Nguyen Rung, translated as the forest people, have a few interesting cases pertaining to it, and researchers have even also collected a track plaster cast. Still being on the history portion of this presentation on Bigfoot, I would like to draw your attention to the government interaction. I think this is a fascinating part of any research of cryptids, cryptozoology, and phenomena out there. I think it is also an extremely important side to these discussions. The presence of the mysterious Men in Black has appeared in reports as they have correlated with UFO sightings as well. And I think the Men in Black topic is extremely fascinating. Once you're done with researching Bigfoot, I implore you to go check out my previous videos in this series exploring the Men in Black. Now, they are a little bit older, a few months, well, let's say over a year older than this one, but I do advise that you check it out as I cover a lot of information there, as well as cases and things like that, which may convince you that they are more than just a Hollywood creation. We go back to national park disappearances. For example, this disappearance of a 20-year-old man and a 22-year-old man just less than 2 weeks apart in Olympic National Park just this April 2017. The Park Service wouldn't allow the searchers sniffing dogs or surge benefiting flares. The park's lack of care and interest stumped and just surprised and confused many people. A national park's full missing person list costs thousands of dollars, or over $1 million for all lists. So if you're not very rich and caring about the topic, I don't see the norm doing much about this. Again, the purpose of this video is to share as much information on Bigfoot as possible, so I do not dwell on some cases, but The point is to point people in the various directions where they can further the research, and missing cases of national parks are a great area of deeper exploration. There are stories of law officials or past law enforcement officers seeing Sasquatch, yet no deeper investigation was performed. It reminds me of the sudden closing of Project Blue Book, which were the government's investigation files of UFOs. Did they get what they needed to from the public? Did they get enough information and had another level of understanding that they didn't care to further share with the public? If Sasquatch was indeed a primate, a type of monkey, then why would the government keep the topic so covert? If one does catch or find the body of a Sasquatch, instead of being excited, they should be worried. Worried about who to tell about it. Governments, religious sects, etc. could quickly make you disappear in those forests, along with that evidence. So make sure you have a plan, you know what to do, you're prepared before you seriously go venturing into cryptozoology.